Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome from the heart of Dripping Springs. We are Mallet and Michelle, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallet.
Michelle, how are you?
I am doing wonderful. The weather has finally turned.
Isn't this nice? Well, I always say if the weather was like this all year long in Texas, there would be 20 million Californians in Austin right now, not just a million.
Well, I had a wicked migraine last night, though. So I went after work. I went home and I told Todd, I'm going to just take a little 10-minute little nap. And I woke up like an hour and a half later. And then
you must have needed it.
My head was killing me. And then about 9:30, I went to bed. So, yeah.
And then
it's
you
better.
Slept till what?
5.
Oh, man. That sounds nice. So,
something like that.
Got to thank our sponsors.
Hello, Mr. Sponsor.
Yeah.
We're going to Nomic Power Solutions.
Capital Farm Credit.
South Star Bank.
Yes, and the Mallet Integrity team of real estate professionals right here in Dripping Springs. Guest today, actually, we've got 2 guests. I got to get the studio set up for that.
Well, are we going to do 2 microphones? We're just going to do 1 microphone.
Maybe we'll just do 1. But we have Mark Rutledge, who was on in a previous episode. Great guy from Capital Farm Credit. And Shelby Eckols, who is a 4th-generation Driftwood resident.
Driftwoodian?
Driftwoodian. He's a Driftwoodian. That doesn't sound right. But they're going to come on, and I don't know if Shelby, is he the president of the Driftwood Historical Conservation Society?
I don't think so, but at least he knows a lot about Driftwood, and so we're going to find out a lot.
Find out the details.
Absolutely. I'm excited about this one.
Well, good. Hey, it's Christmas week. No, it's not Christmas week yet. You still got some time, folks.
I know.
It's Thanksgiving week.
It is Thanksgiving week. You know what I'm most excited for this particular week?
Turkey and mashed potatoes.
The Texas A&M game.
Oh, I didn't even know that was happening.
Oh, it's a big deal. It hasn't happened in years, and the rivalry is back on. So we're excited.
The rivalry is back.
Todd and I are going to go meet up with Scotty and Kelly, and we're going to go watch the game somewhere. We're going to have a good time.
Oh, yeah. Where are you going to go?
We haven't decided that yet, but we are going to have some adult cocktails and watch the game.
Wherever you go, watch out.
Wherever you go, there I am.
You will make a scene. I know that's going to be
Wherever
happening.
you go, there I am.
Well, speaking of Thanksgiving, I like to reflect this time of year about things that I'm thankful for, and the stuff that's going on that's good in our lives. So I have a question for you. What are you thankful for?
Oh, there's so much this year. I'm thankful for not having to plan a wedding this year. But I am most thankful for, I think, the upcoming birth of my beautiful granddaughter.
Your
but that's going to be
first grandbaby.
I know, and I'm so excited to welcome her. But I have to say that it's been a beautiful transformation. If you've ever raised a teenage daughter, you know how difficult that can be, and it's a miracle that you've stayed out of prison. And it's. I think I'm most thankful every morning. Kendall calls me. She FaceTimes me while she's getting ready, and she's like, rubbing some little bio oil on her belly, and so I get to experience that every single morning.
That's
so
cool.
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, I'm thankful for that too. That sounds. I mean, I'm a long way away from being a grandfather, but I'm really looking forward to that.
Surprise! Here comes your grandchild in the dark.
Yeah, I've got kind of a long list. I'm very thankful that I found Holly in my life.
Yes,
and she's the perfect soulmate for me. And I actually never envisioned that I could be as happy as I am.
Everybody, God bless Holly. God bless Holly.
It's true.
Yes.
How did I stumble across probably the one person on the planet that could put up with my crap and still love me?
God bless Holly. She is a saint.
She is a saint. Yeah, she is a saint. My dad moved here this year.
Yes.
And so, just be honest, I haven't had a great relationship with my dad the last, since I kind of left the house when I was a my 20s.
A wee lad.
Yeah, wee lad. And I've been able to bring, just reconnect with him.
Yeah,
and he's living over there
great.
at Jovi, which is fantastic. If you have anybody that's in your family that you want to put them in a 55 plus community, Jovi's the place to do it. But it's been real fun connecting with him. My kids are doing well. My kids are happy and healthy. I love our little town. I'm just overflowing with thankfulness
Look at
right
you.
now.
You're just real chipper today.
Yeah,
Look
I
at
feel
that.
good. I mean, we've had a little bit of a tumultuous 6 months, with the real estate market, but none of that matters as much as those other things that are so big in our lives.
I have to agree with that. I think that, on a professional note, I'm very grateful that, I've been with Mallet Integrity Team now almost 10 years now.
How the hell have you done that?
I don't know.
You don't even know.
I don't know. But there's something about this podcast that is special because no matter what kind of cruddy day that we've had the day before or the day after or
the day of,
we walk into this studio and it's just magical. And the sense that I am building my calendar right now for guests, I'm already in to March.
Yeah, of
And-
2025.
Of 2025. And yes, I still do reach out to people to have them on the podcast, but more often than not, I have people reach out to me.
Yeah.
And I think that's amazing that we have this little avenue in our teeny tiny little town to kind of showcase the wonderful people that are here. And
I
I'm
agree.
and from all walks of life. So I'm thankful for
It's
that.
amazing to me. I think almost everybody in this world, if you spend enough time with them, you will find out that they are fascinating. Their story is fascinating. And we get to do that every
Even if
week.
you don't like them.
It's true. And we've actually, probably shouldn't say that. We've
Let's
had a
name
few
them.
people. Yeah.
Let's name the
Yeah,
ones.
here we go. Episode. No. But, we've had a couple people on here, they've left and we're like, I don't really agree with some of the stuff they've said, but we still enjoyed getting to meet
Hey,
them and know
probably equally a lot of people don't agree with stuff that we say. So
I would
you know
say
what?
there's a lot of people that don't agree with what we say, but that's okay. That's what this podcast medium is all about, is being able to talk about things that interest you and give your opinion. And if people want to listen, they listen. And luckily for us, there's enough people that do
Yes.
want to listen. And if they don't, that's okay. There's a million other podcasts out there.
I remember when we first started doing this podcast, and I was like, Steve, once we hit 10 downloads,
I know.
that's
I
it.
know. We've made it.
We've made it, and we've way surpassed a couple of
yeah.
zeros, or a lot of zeros after that. But I think it's pretty funny that was my goal, was just to hit double digits.
I know, it's true. And same with sponsorship dollars. I think we started talking about in our first sponsorship dollars, like, well, maybe we could get like $250
Yeah.
to offset the podcast.
You know what? I will take $250 to shut him up.
That's true. That's true. Well, I'm very thankful for the podcast too. And I'm thankful for you for hanging in there
thank you.
for 11 plus years and putting up with my crap. So-
Well, you know what? Equally. It's been a good relationship.
You know what? Comment on our Facebook Live and tell us what you're thankful for. We would like to know.
That's right. So, Steve, I have a really funny, weird story.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So did you hear about, there was this congressional hearing about aliens or outer space?
I know there's been a bunch of
UFO?
those going on.
So it was the Congress held this oversight committee, and it was all about the talk about these UFOs. And in 2024, I think people were on a cruise ship. They've been seeing these unidentified objects
Floating objects?
in the water. Okay, so
Aliens in the
there's
water.
ocean aliens
Dun, dun,
now. You don't
dun.
have to worry about what's going on up in the sky. It's the ocean aliens. But given
Like
the
there
fact,
isn't enough crap to worry about
true.
in the world
Given
right
the
now.
fact that we're going into the season of giving, right? Christopher Columbus, how about that for a segue? Christopher Columbus even reported a UFO sphere-shaped object when he was sailing over the ocean blue, like a long time ago, whenever what was it,
Well,
1492?
they believed in mermaids too, so
Well, but he wrote it down in his captain's log. There was actually documentation that he wrote it down in captain's log. But in this oversight committee, these witnesses, one of them was a retired Navy commander, Rear Admiral. Yeah, say that 3 times fast.
Navy Commander Rear Admiral.
Yeah, Navy Commander Rural Admiral. But also, of course, former military and NAS officials. But they've talked about these near air collisions that while aircraft are up there. And a lot of them are happening off the coast, the East Coast. What's on the East Coast? The Bermuda Triangle, right?
That's exactly right.
Which is kind of funny. But, some of these videos that you're seeing, of course, you can kind of tell it's like AI. Some of them are AI. But according to our government, 98% of these sightings are found to be either debris or birds. But just this year alone, 757 new sightings, and also drones, but 757 new sightings they have no explanation for. So I don't know. Are we dealing with aliens? Are we sick of everything that now in the world?
Can I be skeptical? You told me yesterday
you're
I'm
very
too skeptical all the time. Can I be skeptical of this? I think there's a million other explanations for these things. A million.
I think so too, but there's some weird stuff that like these pilots see and these boat captains see, and so
there's a I don't even know. I remember from one of the classes in school, it's like if you're sleeping in bed and you hear hoofbeats behind your house, you instantly assume there's horses behind your house. Well, it could be cows, it could be zebras, it could be antelope, it could be deer. You never heard of that? It's like your brain always assumes.
Did you grow up in the 1800s?
Yes. But the point is, you're on a ship, you see this thing out, a couple hundred yards away from, and you don't have quite a good view of it, so your brain makes up something that it's not. And then your brain, you believe it. But it could be a container, it could be a dead whale, it could be, it could be just a million other things.
It could, a green Martian man could walk in here. Mork from Orc could walk in here and you'd say,
you are AI or you're wearing a costume.
You'd go, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it. I am skeptical. I'm Mr. Skeptical.
Mr. Skeptic.
I have a quick story I wanted to do, even though I don't think you wanted me to do it, but singles want to find love in real life again, but they don't know how to do it.
Because they don't know how to talk to people.
That's exactly right. I found this article in the Wall Street Journal, and it was talking about this generation of kids, we call them, kids, 20s and 30-year-olds, that have been on dating apps for years and years and years and don't know how to meet people in real life. They just they don't possess that skill anymore. There was this one story, this woman, Lisa Taylor, she was on vacation staying in this hotel, this fancy hotel. She was sitting out by the beach, and this guy came up and asked if she'd like to talk. And she looked at him and said, "About what?"
That's what I would have said. I was just thinking that in my head. About what?
And he kind of looked at her and then walked away, and she was back in her hotel room later, and she thought, that guy was hitting on me.
I saw this video most recently about a guy from Australia that was visiting Texas, and he said that not only, we're known for being friendly, right? But he said people will just talk to you anywhere. You're in line, you're at the supermarket, and people just start. I had this 10-minute conversation with this man that I had never met before, and he goes, I don't think in Australia we talk to each other. And so maybe it's geographically that people...
It might be. I think it's a lot in the United States, especially with a certain generation. There are groups of kids... 20, 25 years old, 6 of them will get together and go out to dinner, and they all sit on their phones the whole time.
Well, you and I have talked about this before. So the two most frightening things, the one most frightening thing for you is walking into a room and not knowing anybody.
That for me is a nightmare.
I love it.
Yeah, it's so weird to me. If I walk into a room of 100 people and I see one person I know, I'm good because I can walk over to that person, and then that's like my segue into everybody else because they'll introduce me around. If I walk in and I don't know a single person, I have turned around and left.
Well, the other most frightening thing to you is when I do go into a room that I don't know, and then I bring that person back and I introduce them to you.
I just met this person over here while I was getting a sandwich. But this article goes on to say that people have lost the skill of banter and flirting. That this generation doesn't know how to do it.
I can see that.
Yeah, and they're really just terrible at it. And so there's actually a hashtag IRL, which is trending now, which is in real life. I met this person IRL in real life.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? Banter and flirting are my middle names. So I think
I would not disagree with that.
I definitely,
Yeah.
I banter with anybody. I will flirt with anybody.
Yeah.
I'm just a big old flirt, and I'm also a smart aleck too. So there's that.
Anybody that's listening knows that that's true. But
Apparently that's a trauma response, right?
yes, that's right. You make jokes about things when the chips are down.
Inappropriate jokes.
Yeah. This one guy, 37-year-old guy, said that the thing that's held him back, it was the Me Too movement, which I'm not commenting on the
you know what? I can
pluses
see
and
that.
minuses of the Me Too movement. I'm just saying he referenced that I don't want to approach somebody and then be accused of being a creep or a stalker or something. So that's made him be less likely to go up to anybody and start talking.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Well,
so the unintended consequences of something that probably was a good thing for us as a country to look at. But
hey, really quick before we wrap up and we go to our guest, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side that you
stuffing.
Oh, not dressing.
Stuffing.
Not dressing.
Who calls it dressing?
You're in the South.
Stuffing.
It's dressing.
Stuffing.
It's dressing.
No, and I don't even put gravy on it. I like it with just stuffing. What's your favorite?
Sweet potato casserole or cornbread.
So
cornbread dressing.
Cornbread stuffing. Sweet potato casserole, is that the one with the marshmallows?
Well, yeah, but then
marshmallows.
You know what else?
No.
Yeah, you know what else I like? My aunt makes this. It's a pistachio salad, and it's like with canned fruit and Cool Whip and pistachio pudding. It's green. It's so good. And Cool Whip.
The only green thing my mom used to make, it was a pineapple cottage
she'd put
cheese
pineapple in there,
Jello
too.
ring or something. I know, it was gross.
Oh,
Sorry,
the
Mom, it was gross.
The 70s were such a bad year
know,
for
it was-
food.
I know. It was
So
like
bad.
it wasn't even like one of those things. Well, like a fruitcake's pretty at
Yeah.
least, but it tastes terrible. But this didn't look good, didn't taste good. I was like not good.
Didn't
on
look
any
good,
level.
didn't taste good. Yeah.
Hey, before we bring our guest in here, Shelby Eckols from the Driftwood Historical Conservation Society, I wanted to, since it's Thanksgiving, turkey trots.
Oh, yes.
So before you go out and eat yourself into a coma, you could go out and do a turkey trot on Thanksgiving morning. So I got a couple here. The biggest one, and this is one of the biggest races in the country, the Thundercloud Subs Turkey Trot in downtown Austin.
Do you do that?
I have done it a couple years. There's 20,000 people come out for that. So you have to get there.
Obviously, the people that aren't cooking are doing that. That's what I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, and I think it starts late too. I think it starts at 9:00. But I've done it, but because it's 20,000 people, unless you get there like an hour and a half before the race starts and then line up near the front, it takes a long time for 20,000 people to move through a start
you're not
line.
running, you're trotting though, right?
Well, I was running, but
If you ain't first, you last.
that's exactly right. Second place is the first loser. But, there's so many people that it just takes so long and you can never get really like a full stride going because there's so many people around. But that is a fun one to do. And they do a lot for charity for that. Buda has a turkey trot at Sunfield, which is a community out there. It starts at 9 a.m. The Pflugerville has one called the Feathered Pfluger Fun Run. It's
a lot
around
of spit
Lake
in that.
Pflugerville.
Oh, this sounds gross.
Yeah, they have a 10K, a 1K, and a 5K. And then there's one at Ranch Park.
I ride one. I do one.
not.
That's called the no K.
The no K. Yeah, I just change out of my PJs and walk into the kitchen.
It's the no K.
Yeah, but there is a turkey trot. I think I found it on the City of Dripping Springs
I think
website.
High Point has one too.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
They do one.
It's a nice way to start the day off, especially if the weather's nice. You get out with some friends, burn off some calories,
It's a nice
and
way
then
to
go
start
home
the
and
day
eat
off
yourself to death.
if you're not hosting 30 people.
Yes,
I'm not
that's
this
true.
year.
Yes, that's true. I don't like cooking either, but I think you like cooking.
Oh, I
don't
do.
you?
I love it.
That's your. It's so funny how you and I are so damn.
I
different.
like cooking, dressing.
You and I are just like we came from two completely different planets.
We're peas and carrots.
Peas and carrots. Yeah, that's right. Well, on that note, let's take a little break and get Shelby Eckols in here from the Driftwood Historical Conservation Society.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Proudly sponsored by
At Capital Farm Credit, they understand that owning land is more than just a transaction. It's a legacy, a future, and a place to call your own.
For generations, Capital Farm Credit has been the trusted lending partner for land loans, farmers, ranchers, and rural dreamers just like you.
Their personalized loan solutions cater to your unique needs, making the journey to land ownership smoother than ever.
Capital Farm Credit, your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallet Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at malletintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
And we're back with Mark Rutledge and Shelby Eckols of the Driftwood Historical Conservation Society. Welcome to the show, you two.
Thank you, Steve. Great to be back here. Great to see you all again. Enjoyed last time. Looking forward to today. And
it was fun. Yes, it was real fun.
When y'all started out and asked me, we wanted to talk a little bit more about Driftwood and the Driftwood Historical Conservation Society, DHCS, which we'll call it DHCS.
Yes, save us a lot of time.
Driftwood Historical Conservation Society, we'll say DHCS so everybody can be familiar, but the DHCS and its background and Driftwood and the store and the development or non-development as you were going on in Driftwood, I got to thinking that I can do some research and talk a little bit about that stuff, but I know a man that grew up in Driftwood, it's fourth generation family of Driftwood that knows Driftwood in and out, one side and down the other, was a former owner of the actual old store.
Oh, wow.
There. And so he would know more about Driftwood than I will ever research. And so y'all thankfully have allowed me to bring Shelby Eckols of
Welcome,
Driftwood, Texas.
Shelby. Welcome,
Shelby. Yes,
Welcome, Shelby.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. I love to talk about Driftwood. It's home, been home, still home. And so thank you for that opportunity to talk about Driftwood.
Yeah, well, we're excited that you're here. So tell us, how did DHCS get started? What was the impetus for that?
Okay. Well, as I said, I grew up in Driftwood, born and raised there. It was a relatively poor community. People lived off the land. And so I was driving from my home. I moved back to Driftwood in 2010. But I was driving to work one morning, and I noticed that all of a sudden there was this round stock tank that was in a pasture. Livestock would water there, wildlife. It was gone, and there were houses there. And about this same time, the county commissioner asked me to be a representative on the Ep.152 West Corridor study. And during that study, they were planning to put a 4-lane road through Driftwood, which would literally destroy the community where I was raised. And so we voiced our opinions on that, but it was difficult to get your point across when there was so many people and so many differing views. And so we gathered a few people in the community, 4 or 5 people, and said, if we don't actually focus on trying to save Driftwood, we're going to accidentally destroy it. And we didn't create Driftwood. the best we can do is just consciously try not to destroy it. And so with that thought, we polled the community and got others involved. We were blessed with people in the community that supported us financially. I won't mention names, but supported us financially, allowed us to get organized as 501c3, bylaws, officers. And we got on social media and began to promote the concept of everyone being welcome in Driftwood, but consciously try not to destroy Driftwood when you come.
I want to go back a little bit further than that, than 2000, what was it, 10, 15 that you were talking about. When I was doing some research about Driftwood, I read that in 1935, there was only about documented 10 people or 10 families that lived in Driftwood. And then in the 1970s, there was about 25 people. So what brought your family to Driftwood in the first place? I know that it was kind of, it was a support community, right, for Buda and Kyle and all those. It had a cotton gin. It had the old general store and a school. But why did your family end up there?
My family ended up there in 1870 was when my family came. And we have been in Driftwood since 1870. At one point, like you said, it had the store. The stone building that's there now was preceded by a wooden structure. It was destroyed in about 1905. The stone building was built. But in the late 1800s, early 19, there were two stores. There was a barber shop, blacksmith shop, a cotton gin. And so it was a community supporting the surrounding farms and ranches that existed there. And 25 was probably an accurate statement, because the problem with the 25 is, what is Driftwood? You know, where is Driftwood?
What are the boundaries of it?
What are the boundaries of Driftwood? And so 25 was about right. 1935, the store was there as a post office. Prior to the war, a lot of the men went away from Driftwood to go to World War II. When they returned, they were just happy to be back in Driftwood. And so life was relatively simple. People lived on the property that they had. You didn't make a living. You just lived on what you made. And that was the background in which I was raised, and many other people in Driftwood and in northern Hayes County. In 1970, it hadn't changed a whole lot. In mid-1970s, when I purchased the store, I owned it until 1995. Everyone that stopped at the store was wanting to get directions on how to get to the Salt Lick. So no one knew Driftwood was identified as about a mile and a half from the Salt Lick.
You should have sold barbecue sandwiches out of there.
But with the change, and everyone lived off the land, so you took care of the land. In doing so, I spent my life taking it for granted, but there's beautiful pastures, live oak trees. Other people started coming to Driftwood and seeing these beautiful live oak trees and beautiful pastures and springs and rivers. Mm-hmm. And
whoop, look at that.
Oops, that's you, 25 bucks.
Sorry about that. Okay. Always the case. But everyone started appreciating the beauty of Driftwood, and we who live there were guilty of not realizing our little corner of the hill country, how beautiful it was.
When your family moved there in the 1870s, was it still called Liberty Hill, or was the name changed already?
No, it was, at the time, I don't think it was named. When they started when they formed the post office in the late 1800s, they wanted Liberty Hill, but that was already taken. And so they had to choose another name, Driftwood.
And
it's a weird kind of name to come up with a little country town out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, yeah, they were saying because it's not a coastal town, but I think the theory is because of the driftwood that was found on the banks. Is that correct? Of Onion Creek?
Onion Creek.
Yeah.
Of Onion Creek.
Okay.
Yeah. Drippin Springs has north and south. Onion Creek, they combine before it gets to Driftwood. And so Onion Creek flowing through Driftwood gets a lot of water moving through there
Sure.
at times. And that's exactly where the name came from, is they identified with the driftwood.
You can
that
see
was
it
found.
20 feet up in the trees sometimes.
Oh, I know. Isn't that
Flood,
scary when
so,
you
yeah,
see
it's,
that when the water's going down? You go like, oh, there was water all the way up there.
Yeah.
Shelby, when you had the store, when you owned that building, you ran it as a general store?
I leased it to others who
Okay.
ran it. I was living in Houston for 10 years and then in Austin working in engineering, and other people were running the store.
Okay.
But it was basically a convenience store, very small scale 7-Eleven type of program that met the needs of the community.
I've been to the church across the street from that. That has to be the smallest church in Texas. That little Driftwood church. Is it Driftwood Baptist Church? Is that what it
it's
is?
a
Or
Methodist church.
Not
Yes.
anymore.
Well-
It has changed. It left the Methodist denomination, and it has become the Driftwood Community Church. So it's locally owned, separate, because of all of the factions of the gay clergy and all that.
Yeah.
They left the denomination so they could stay the same, is what it is. So now it's Driftwood Community Church, and it's very much a Bible-oriented church, and so there's welcome to
And the
come.
cemetery is connected to that
Right
church.
next
So
to it.
both of those have historical markers, correct?
That's correct.
That is it's a very beautiful. My firstborn was married at the venue right next door. Yeah, so we ran across the street and took pictures at the general store.
Because really,
As everyone does.
yeah, because for those people that are listening that have never been to Driftwood, you've got the church, you've got the old store that you own, the post office behind that, you've got the wedding venue.
And the community center behind the church. Yep.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
community center behind the church, and that's pretty much it. huh?
Well, Salt Lick.
well, but
You
that's
got
not.
the wires,
I mean,
yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
there's some residences that are along the side of the general store that go north along 150.
Okay.
There's 4 or 5 residences there as well. So,
Okay.
And then the post office behind the store.
Yeah, I applaud you guys for doing this because I agree with you that whole area could be just devastated by development that doesn't fit the character of the land. So I'm glad that you're bringing it up to the people. Go ahead, Shelby.
You mentioned those entities. When I was growing up, the Driftwood Church is one entity, the Driftwood Cemetery Association is another one, and the Community Center was the third. 3 different organizations, all attended by the same people. Well, as Driftwood has grown, each of those organizations now are separate, and separate people are attending each of those. And what DHCS is trying to do and accomplishing is all 3 of those organizations are beginning to work together as one and coming back to the community that Driftwood was 50, 70 years ago.
Shelby, the house that your ancestors lived in the 1800s, is that site still there? Is anything still there from?
My great-grandfather's house is just a location. My grandfather's house is relatively fallen down. Some of it is still visible from Elder Hill Road. Our property was along Elder Hill Road from basically the store nearly to Ranch Road 12. But my parents' home is still there. It's still functioning. Just left it this morning, and no one's living in there right now.
Oh, wow.
But no, it is. It's in the families where I was born and raised, where my father died. My mother lived until she passed away.
Yeah.
So the cemetery, I'm assuming, probably has a lot of your relatives that are laid to rest there.
It has a lot of my relatives and various other families in the community.
And the criteria to be able to be buried there is that you are a resident of Driftwood?
Resident of Driftwood or active in Driftwood entities, or that you have grandparents who have been buried there.
I just got to say, Michelle, you have done your research. You know what you're talking about.
I like Driftwood. I do. I
no,
like that.
I know, but you've asked some real good questions
Well, you know,
and said some things I didn't know.
It's kind of funny because where I live off of Sawyer Ranch Road, it always considers me Driftwood, even though I'm not Driftwood, but there's part of Sawyer Ranch that is right. There's an area that it becomes Driftwood.
We drew a map of Driftwood.
That's what I was
came
going
up.
to.
And someone asked, "What is Driftwood?" They think the store, and so the DHCS came up with a map. We looked at the zip code first, and it's just a starburst. There's arms that just bridging in there. But we were talking to Scott Roberts about this too. He was involved, and he said, "We've been looking at an appellation, creating an appellation for the winery industry along the Driftwood area, and if you lay the proposed appellation on top of the zip code, it's almost a perfect fit." There's a couple of points that come off that we left on the map for Driftwood, but that's how the Driftwood map, that you can go to the DHCS website and look at the map, and that's how it was created, as a combination of the zip code and the proposed appellation that was overlaid on top of it.
And I've got you mentioned population of Driftwood a few minutes ago. When we formed the map that Mark was talking about, I was president of DHCS, and growing up out there, the different communities are very sensitive to having their own identity. And so Rick Brands had raised the question, what is Driftwood? All I see is that old stone building. And so we developed this appellation and prepared this map that showed where the limits of Driftwood were. And we had a public meeting, and I was really nervous because I knew of this history of people with identity of their communities.
Sure.
And so we showed the map, and the very first question that came up, was an individual that said, I live just the other side of that line that defines Driftwood. Can you move that line to include me?
They wanted to be part of it. Oh, that's
There's
great.
an initiation fee first,
Yeah.
for certain.
How are you all, and I know you both have been past presidents and neither one of you are now, but how is the organization engaging with the community and spreading the word about what's going on there?
Yeah, there's a Driftwood Heritage Festival that comes out in the spring, and there's been 750,000 people that attend that in early spring. Was it March or April, somewhere in that time frame? So it's a well-attended event, and there in that event, there is a historical section, so you can go and learn about some of the things we've been talking about. Have bands that play and in various venues that can go on. So that's one of the public outreaches. But there's monthly meetings that we have.
Okay.
That anyone's welcome to come and visit. Board meet once a month as well. And there's various committees that are going out with reaching the business community or trying to reach anyone moving into Driftwood. What Shelby was saying was that everyone's welcome. Just help us to preserve and keep the integrity. And, we have a kind of an unofficial slogan, lights down, signs lows, and buffer zones up. So lights down, signs low, and buffer up. If we did those three things alone, we would have made a difference to Driftwood. If we keep signage down and the lights pointed down and then buffer zones wherever we can, when you drive through, you still have the feel. The Vista Brewing is a kind of a poster child of what we've asked people to come in, developers to come in to do. As you drive by their facility, they have a very tasteful sign that's out. The light, they don't have any lights out. And the buffer zone is such that you really can't see their facility when you drive by.
Where's that one at?
It's just south of Driftwood, 3 miles on the west side of town.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Kind of down by Dukeman. Kind of.
Yeah.
Down that way. Yeah.
It's a great venue. They have done a great. They nestle their development in amongst the trees. They removed as few trees as possible to put in their development.
Well,
So
speaking of trees and removing things, talk about Driftwood's relationship with TxDOT and what could potentially be coming down the pipe for that, and how much control you have or don't.
We are very, very grateful to TxDOT. When we started, I was on the committee for the commissioners, and it was difficult to get them to listen to us. And so we developed our organization, started doing what we do, started communicating with TxDOT, voicing opinions and support. We have our committee leads have an excellent relationship with TxDOT, and we're very grateful to them. We promoted the concept, and TxDOT agreed with the roundabout down at Hays City. They also were looking at roundabouts in other locations, and we're very hopeful that those roundabouts, one at Sawyer Ranch,
Yes.
you mentioned that,
Mm-hmm.
and so more of those are coming, and we are grateful to TxDOT for them being open to listening to our ideas. We have no control, no leverage over TxDOT. We just try to be good citizens and communicate with them and help find a better way to do something, because they have the whole state of Texas to deal with.
Yeah. Who came up with the idea for the roundabout? Because I think that was very well done at that intersection. Because if it had been a, great big old stoplights everywhere, it would have been ugly. And that roundabout's real nice.
Well, like I said, during the FM150 corridor study, the roundabout concept was pulled in to that study from a consultant out of Oregon, I believe.
Okay.
I personally resisted that. I called it a traffic circle instead of a roundabout. I gave him a hard time till he educated me on the fact that you can run a stop sign, you can run a red light, you cannot run through a roundabout.
Oh, that is an interest. I haven't thought about it that way, because I was not a fan of the roundabout, traffic circle, whatever that was. And now it is true. I can just zip all around.
And it's nice because, there's a lot more green space there. You got a green area, and it just kind of preserves the natural beauty of the land instead of having all these light poles and everything sticking up all over the place.
Yeah, and we're encouraging to not have so many light poles, like Mark said, dark skies. Mm-hmm. But even along the highways, to the extent we can, minimize the number of light poles. But the roundabouts, this consultant indicated that this improves the traffic flow,
it does.
But the biggest thing is we have so many new people in our community, and so many are in a hurry to get somewhere, that the roundabout makes them consciously slow down. Because if they do not, they're going to run into trees or rocks or something. So improves the flow of traffic.
Unless you're like me and you take it as a racetrack.
Yeah, for sure. The thing about Driftwood that I find very interesting is that there is an organized effort to preserve Driftwood, but Driftwood is Driftwood because there's a post office, but there isn't a mayor, there isn't a police department, there isn't a city council, there is no taxing entity. It's basically just people that truly care about the area that they live in and volunteer their time to kind of preserve that. And so do you see anywhere in the future to where Driftwood would be an actual organized
town or
city, or
we
Mayor Mark?
We talked about this at lunch, and Shelby has a great response. I'll let him respond to it.
I don't remember that response, but the one thing when we started our organization, the one thing we found, everyone that moved out there because they thought it was a beautiful place to live. And so when we developed the idea of let's work together to preserve Driftwood, we found everyone was there for the same reason, to preserve Driftwood. We loved it. We had no authority. We didn't have any money, but we did have this common belief of a mass of people that want to protect their home.
That sounds like our podcast. We have no authority. We have no money.
But it works.
It works.
Yeah.
That's right.
When people come and ask about incorporation,
Yes.
to become a city and to have a city council and a mayor and all those services, one of our bumper stickers that says Driftwood, it's about what's not here.
Oh, that's so good.
And so
I need one of those for here.
You don't have those services, but people moved out there don't necessarily need or want those services. They don't want the taxes.
Complicates things.
They don't want the complication. They don't want the red tape. They don't want the regulation. They don't want the taxes. And so that's kind of the response of, now there's some people I'm out there in Driftwood that would love to see a city and have fire service and all that. And we're saying if, its beauty is part of not having all of that baggage that comes with all of those services.
Have you had people that have bought property out there and you've approached them about keeping some of the features that they have, and they've said, hey, this is my land, I'll do what the hell I want?
Short answer is yes. I won't be specific, but it's interesting with time that very strong opinion begins to dampen some.
Because they see it as an asset.
They see it as an asset.
Yeah, it increases the value. If everything around them is beautiful, it increases the value of their property.
And I believe so very deeply that preserving the area in the state that it is in will raise its value higher than it would if you were to come in and just pillage the land.
Yeah.
We were talking about this a little bit before we got on air. We were talking about the community discovery, and the most famous property is Salt Lick. And so talking about being good stewards of your land, or people, I mean, actually Salt Lick's been there, for forever and a day. But so now you have Hollywood kind of moved into the hill country, and how I think the biggest argument that I hear is that they're stealing all of our water. It's, it's golf courses. But when you really look at this development, they have the buffers that they have done. We've driven the property. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely
it's gorgeous.
Beautiful. So you've worked, I guess the committee has worked closely with the developers of Discovery, correct?
Well, when you talk to Discovery specifically, it is it's an exclusive clientele, but the goal that they're doing with their subdivision is our goals are so very parallel to theirs, and it is common sense goals of people enjoying the property and cherishing the property. Now, granted, the people in Discovery may have properties in other locations, but for Driftwood, they want to preserve it. And even the other subdivisions in Driftwood, to a large degree, have recognized that. They're larger lots. But no, it is the area that when people move out there, they move out there, in my opinion, because they love the area. Yeah. They love its appearance. They love its rural features. And so just don't destroy what brought you out here.
The Roberts family have a Driftwood food co-op that they're starting.
So wow.
So have locally grown agricultural products that are available for sale. And they say that he's a sommelier, and so he's been all over Europe. And there are places in Europe where it is more valuable to keep the property in an agricultural, tourism-based type of property than it is to develop it. And so the draw for the natural beauty and the atmosphere that you get on going to a place like Driftwood is more valuable in that state than it is if a subdivision were to come in and develop development for it. And so that's kind of we're not at that level, but we're headed that direction as to the value of the property is more enhanced and worth more in a natural state than it is in a fully developed state.
Mark, tell me about when we toured and some of the also plans that we had seen. There were talks about doing a tunnel under 150 or
it was under 1826.
One of those for golf carts and stuff like that. Is that still in the works?
That's a Discovery project.
Okay.
And they were going to do that for their clientele to be able to go from one side of the golf course to the other. And as far as I know, they still have those plans. They've been shelved, I think, for financial reasons for the moment, for time being. But that's the kind of care that Discovery has had for the land, is that they would rather have a tunnel and not obscure the roadways with overpasses or bridges or roadways and that kind of thing. They'd rather be more quiet with their approach than
I'll tell you a story. We did a private tour with them with about 10 or 12 realtors back when they first started building the golf course. And Shelby, you said exclusive. We were on this tour and they're showing us around and showing us all the amenities, and they showed us some of the plans for the houses. And I looked around at these 12 or 11 or 12 really high producing realtors, and I said, if all of us pooled our money, we couldn't afford to live here. That's how exclusive it is.
And they're sold out.
A lot of their owners have purchased. They have lots in other developments.
Yes.
Discovery is a nationwide.
Oh, I know. They've got them all over.
So
yeah, it's worldwide.
So when we realize that, we have new neighbors and they're caring for the property. Lights down, sign those buffer zones up. That's what our parallel ideas are. But then also they're gone for a portion of the time at their other facilities. So what better neighbor to have one that's not even there? So,
it's
worked out.
cool that they came in and recognized the value of preserving, because they have so much money. They could have come in and done whatever they wanted and steamrolled you
They
guys. It's
made-
nice that they didn't.
They made an effort to come introduce themselves, tell us what they were doing. They came to our monthly meetings and explained the plans on what they had was going on. So they made a conscious effort to be included in the community, but to keep the community informed is what their plans were
which was
too.
that was very
we were
smart.
very helpful. That's a two-way street. We welcomed them. They came and shared, and they gave us access to the facilities for one of our monthly meetings, and it was one of the most popularly attended meetings that we
that's
had.
great.
So it
That's
was a
great.
great relationship. with
Yeah.
them.
Would you say that's one of the biggest success stories you've had with the DHSC or DHCS?
The only qualifier I would put on that is that to say it was one of our success stories would suggest we have credit for bringing them here.
No, but I think you probably had credit for
information.
and being good neighbors to suggesting things and helping them learn what the community is about, so that they could build something that didn't conflict with that.
We're so. To me, I am so grateful that they are there. We could not ask for a better neighbor in the Driftwood area. We're also blessed with several other large track holders in the area. I don't know. I assume you know the Yeti name. That came out of Driftwood. There's people from California moving into the area now. They buy lots in Lavin and Discovery, and then buy acreage somewhere else in Driftwood. So we're blessed with the people that are coming to Driftwood. I think they're coming there because it's close to Austin. It's beautiful. It's not densely populated. And so if we can maintain the course that we're on, and I don't know, it's to our credit, maybe it's good fortune, maybe it's just random luck, whatever it is, maybe we can keep from destroying Driftwood in the next
responsible
couple of decades.
growth. Responsible growth, for sure.
Yeah.
Growing up in Driftwood, I'm sure that you have a lot of stories and favorite memories, but do you have one that you could share about when you were a young kid and just something that was unique about Driftwood?
That made you fall in love with Driftwood?
The one that comes to mind is seasonal. The Driftwood Church, Driftwood Community Church, it was formed in 1880, round numbers. It has been in continuous use today, and it's relatively the spiritual center of Driftwood. On Christmas Eve every year, there is a service at 7 o'clock. It lasts about 30 minutes. Santa Claus always shows up, always gives gifts to the children that are there. When I was growing up, we would go out in the pasture and cut a cedar tree and bring it down there and put it in the church, and the ladies would decorate it. But Santa Claus has never missed Christmas Eve in Driftwood.
Aww.
And it's open to anyone. If anybody's looking for Christmas Eve event.
I hope we don't overrun you this year for people that show up.
Well, if the parents just, if you remember, bring a gift for the kids so Santa Claus can give it to them. If not, there'll be gifts there.
That's really great.
But that is Driftwood.
Yeah, that's a great reflection of what they are. Do you see the role of the DHCS evolving in the future into something else?
We started in 2015 with 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah.
No money, no authority, no organization. Today, I think there's 200 members.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's great.
The 10-acre property of the church, it's across 150, is being developed into a nature trail. We have people communicating with TxDOT. I am so grateful that there are that many people interested in Driftwood to join, participate. We have a Thanksgiving dinner. What is it? Tomorrow, Wednesday night. It's part of the church and the community center of the DHCS. But if it can, and everyone that moves out there loves Driftwood, if everyone becomes aware, becomes involved, and there is more involvement in DHCS, the Cemetery Association, and the church. And so making that community a community, working together to preserve it. What I can gather, this is a lot of the goals of your podcast. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk about Driftwood, and hopefully we can succeed as y'all have.
I sure hope you do. Go ahead, Mark.
On the DHCS website, there's something called a roadmap. And we hired a consultant that came in and developed a professionally done idea. We had a whole weekend that the members of the community came and gathered, and they gathered ideas and put it all down into what we call a roadmap. And it describes what the future of Driftwood could be as developers come in. So we can give that to potential developers who want to come in and buy one of those residences. Said, here's how you fit in for the way we see Driftwood going in its future. So there's a very visionary document that's out there for anybody that wants to come
really
and see.
smart to do that. Yeah.
So it lets people see what our ideas are and how this property would fit in to the network of ideas and divisions about what the property in the area can produce, what it can.
I think that's brilliant. You had a lot of forethought to do that.
Mark, I want to ask you, who is Driftwood's favorite cousin? Is it Drippin? Is it Buda? Or is it Kyle?
Or Wimberly?
Well, I mean, we all know about Wimberly.
the hippie stepsister.
It's not even, it's the stepsister.
I grew up in a close family, fortunate to do so. And it's like you just take your family in as they come.
That's right.
They are who they are. And you love them and you work with them. You don't always agree with them. May not always see eye to eye, but you love each other regardless, And so and just like Shelby said earlier, everyone's welcome to come to Driftwood. Just please respect and let's try to keep it this beauty that it has. And so far, I mean, whether it's night skies from Wimberley or night skies from Blanco or your support here from Drippin, or Kyle, with some of the county commissioners that have come and spoken to our events. We work with everyone that surrounds us. And so we really, really embrace the continuity of working together on keeping it beautiful.
I applaud you guys for that. So I have two questions. How are you funding this remarkable project that you're working on, and where can people find out more information about it?
Talking about the roadmap?
Just all the things you're doing, how are you guys funding that?
Well, the DHCS is really funded by its membership. Shelby mentioned the couple hundred members, and their annual memberships help keep the organizational going. But then we've also had, like Shelby said, some individual contributors, especially early on, that have contributed significantly in getting us started, getting us going, getting it happening. But there's also a capital plan about revitalizing the Driftwood community building. It was donated to us by an even older organization, the Driftwood Community
Improvement
Club.
Okay.
Improvement Club, and they donated that to our organization to help manage and continue it going. It was old when it was donated 50 years ago, and so it needs renovation. And so there's a capital campaign that's in the works to try to get it renovated and get it rebuilt. We've had renderings done and got a new septic system installed, and so things like that are community. And those contributors a lot of times can do that, like the light person can donate lights. And that's, since we're a 501c3, that's a tax-deductible event. And so we really work with everybody that's involved in helping them be a part of the community, but make it advantageous for them as well.
Yeah, that's great. And how can people find out more information?
Well, DHCS, the Driftwood Historic Conservation's website, driftwoodhcs.org, is the website. Certainly Shelby and I are available to answer any questions that people have, but there's a board member. The board members are listed on there. Anyone that's connected with the DHCS would be happy to answer questions. We welcome membership, welcome ideas. We really, the last thing I want to say is Driftwood DHCS is what it is because people like Shelby said, there's an issue, that 4-lane highway coming through here, we need to take action. So he took it upon himself to talk to his neighbors. They went to the county commissioners and said, and then as DHCS grew, now you're not just speaking to Shelby, you're speaking to 200 votes out there for the council to come in. So when that voice speaks, it's louder than any one of us could speak of going. But that concept of working together and being united in its growth is what we're about.
Do you have people that have become members that are not residents of Driftwood?
Short answer is yes.
Yeah.
Again, don't want to mention names, but I know I have a neighbor that's
Mention names.
I was going to say, we're all about mentioning names, Shelby.
No, I don't want to mention this name. He is I know he is a member. He's from California, but a new resident or a new property owner in Driftwood. And I'm sure there are others.
Yeah.
Is his name Clooney George?
No, I applaud both of you for the time that you spent as presidents and for the ongoing effort that's to keep Driftwood beautiful. It's a great place. We need to keep it like that. I'm going to ask my question. Are you going to ask about Thanksgiving? So I'm going to ask mine about Thanksgiving. So before you guys came in, we did our monologue. We talked about things that we are thankful for this year or just in general. Can you guys share a couple things you're thankful for?
Well, personally speaking, thankful for the Lord, for Christ, for coming and getting sacrificing himself. That comes first. And then thankful for my family that's there to love and support and work with and live with. But I'm also thankful for Driftwood, for its beauty, its people, its community, and its feel of living in those communities. So those are first things that come off my mind to be thankful for.
Yours are very similar to mine. How about you, Shelby? What about you? What are you thankful for?
The same thing Mark said. Our faith, our beliefs, for my family, down to my wife and I and one son and grandchildren, and thankful for them, and thankful for the blessing that growing up, I didn't fully appreciate it, but the blessing of being able to live in this part of the world. And sure, home is special to everyone. Yeah. This area is special to me. And just grateful for that and grateful for today.
Yeah, we need to be focused on that a lot more. And in troubled times, we need to be thankful for all of these things, no matter what's going on. Go ahead, Michelle.
Shelby, I wanted to ask you, just having a generational wealth of knowledge about Driftwood, and long after you're gone, what do you hope that your legacy stamp on Driftwood will be? What do you hope people remember about you and in correlation to Driftwood?
Like I said, I care about Driftwood. It is satisfying to me to see DHCS, the Cemetery Association, the community church, and the residents of Driftwood caring about Driftwood. Doesn't matter if it's about me. I care about Driftwood, and that it be there for my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren that I'll probably never see.
Well, you've made your ancestors proud, I'm sure. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. And Mark, it's always a pleasure to be able to sit with you.
Likewise.
I really enjoyed it, guys. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank y'all.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready.
Ready to turn your land dreams into reality? Look no further than Capital Farm Credit.
Need a loan for your perfect piece of land? Capital Farm Credit is there for you.
Their dedicated team will tailor a loan to fit your unique needs because your dreams are their priority.
Capital Farm Credit. Your land, your legacy. Visit capitalfarmcredit.com or Mark Rutledge at 512-892-4425.
Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better.
Capital Farm Credit, an equal credit housing lender.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallet Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.